Good morning. Rev here this morning. It is January the 7th. It is Friday. We are 1 week into the new year now. I hope you're safe and well and blessed this morning and ready to be a witness for Christ. Yesterday being Epiphany, I'm going to deal with Epiphany today and tomorrow as well. And I'm going to be reading to you from Matthew chapter 2, first 12 verses. Matthew's is the only account of this particular thing that happened. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw a star in the east and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Christ was to be born. "In Bethlehem in Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet was written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you will come a ruler who will be the shepherd of my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and make a careful search for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me, so that I too may go and worship him." After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star that they had seen in the east went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. They opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold and incense and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Well, we celebrate this every year, this Epiphany. And we talk about the wise men or magi that bring gifts to Jesus. Today I want to focus on the gifts. Truly, gold, frankincense, and myrrh were gifts that are fit for a king. Bible students have seen in the gifts symbols of Christ's identity and what he would accomplish. I mean, gold, obviously a gift for a king. Incense, a gift for deity. And myrrh, a gift for a person who was going to die. These gifts were for the purpose of worshiping Jesus. And this is the essence of true worship. Honoring Christ for who he is and being willing to give him what is valuable to you. So here's a question. What gift do you bring to Jesus? And it's easy for us to kind of do the cop-out thing and say, well, I don't have anything to offer. Every one of us has gifts to offer. You all have talents. And we offer those talents back to Christ. He's the one that gave them to us in the first place, but we offer them back to him. Random acts of kindness. There's all kinds of things that we can do, all kinds of gifts that we have. All of us have a gift of grace, undeserved favor, forgiveness. It's what Christianity is all about. In our world, love is something spoken about only in the most romantic sense and trivial sense of the word. But we, church, we must dare to love in a world that does not know how to love. We can't give the gift of love if we cannot give the gift of ourselves. Now, I want to tell you a story about two Americans. In 1994, they answered an invitation for the Russian Department of Education to teach morals and ethics based on biblical principles in public schools. They were invited to teach at prisons and businesses, the fire and police departments, and large orphanages. And about 100 boys and girls who had been abandoned and abused and left in the care of a government-run program were in the orphanage. And they talked about this, they gave this story. It was near the holiday season, time for the orphans to hear for the first time the traditional Christmas story. And they told them about Mary and Joseph coming to Bethlehem and finding no room in the inn. The couple went to a stable where the baby Jesus was born and placed in a manger. And throughout the story, the children, the orphanage, and the staff, they just kind of sat in amazement and listened. Some sat on the edges of their stools trying to grasp every word. In completing the story, the children were given 3 small pieces of cardboard to make a crude manger. And then each child was given a small paper square cut from yellow napkins that they had brought with them. And following the instructions, the children tore the paper and carefully laid strips in the manger for straw. Small squares of flannel were used for the baby's blanket. A doll-like baby was cut from some tan felt, and the orphans were busy assembling their mangers. And the 2 Americans, they were walking around to see if everybody, to see if anybody needed any help. And it all went well until they got to this one table where a young boy by the name of Misha sat. He was about 6 years old or so, and he had finished his project. And as they looked in the little boy's manger, they were startled to see not 1, but 2 babies in the manger. And quickly a translator was called over to where the child was. And they asked the child why there were 2 babies in the manger. Excuse me. Crossing his arms in front of him and looking at his completed manger, the child began to repeat the story very seriously. And for the boy to have only heard the Christmas story for the first time, he related the happenings pretty accurately until he came to the part where Mary put Jesus in the manger. Then Misha started to ad-lib a little bit. And he made up his own ending to the story, and he said, "When Maria had laid the baby in the manger, Jesus looked at me and asked if I had a place to stay. I told him I have no mama and I have no papa, and so I don't have any place to stay. And then Jesus told me I could stay with him. But I told him I couldn't because I didn't have a gift to give him like everybody else did. But I wanted to stay with Jesus so much that I thought that what I might be able, or maybe I could use for a gift. I thought maybe if I could keep him warm, that would be a good enough gift. And Jesus told me, if you keep me warm, that'll be the best gift that anybody ever gave me. And so I got into the manger, and then Jesus looked at me and he told me I could stay with him for always." As little Misha as little Misha finished his story, his eyes brimmed full of tears and that splashed down his little cheeks. Putting his hands over his face, he dropped to the table, and his shoulders shook, and he just sobbed and he sobbed. And the little orphan had found someone who could never abandon him, never abuse him, someone who would stay with him for always. Misha gave the only gift that he could, the gift of self. You know what? That's all Jesus wants from you today. The word epiphany means to make known. Make Christ known to the world. You may not be a star in the sky. You may not be a wise man or a magi or a wise woman or any of that. But you can be a light in someone's darkness. Just give the gift of yourself to Christ and make him known to the world. I'm Pastor Mark. Love you guys. Be safe, be well, be blessed, be strong. Keep the faith. I'll see you tomorrow.